I feel like it has to be. Or if I can something. And then.
We're spotlighted for everyone on screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, it would matter. Yeah. Ready?
All right, everyone, we'll call our city commission meeting to order at 7 p.m., December 16th, 2024. We have an addition to our board tonight, so I hope everybody gets a chance to welcome it, but we do have a forum tonight. We can continue on with our agenda. So first up, let's start with our pledge of allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we got the minutes for December 2nd. That was a regular commission meeting, and then the minutes for December 13th, which was the special election canvas meeting. So I trust you guys have had a chance to take a look at all them, and if they look good, need a motion to approve them as written.
We'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second to approve both sets of meeting minutes. Move to a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Commissioners reports, Kyle. Couple minutes on the job, but if you want to say something as far as introducing yourself.
Yeah, my name's Kyle Ralston from a small town of Petersburg over on the east side of the state. Moved out here back in 2013. Ever since I worked for Hess, reliability operator, compressing gas. So I do that and I've been there for about 5 years. Fantastic job. So, I guess if they have any questions, any issues, you can call me. I live right in town, so, quite a bit of free time, very involved with the city, so I'll be around. I'm sure you'll see my face. Thanks.
Thanks, Kyle. Jaden, what do you got?
Well, I think we're getting ready to, start extending offers for the, auditor position. So we have about 10 people apply for it. We scheduled interviews with the top 4. We did 3 really good interviews. Did not hear back from one of the people. So with that, I guess I would like approval to extend verbal offers, 2 verbal offers. I would like to extend a verbal offer for the auditor position, not to exceed $125,000. I would also like to seek approval to make another verbal offer for a deputy auditor, not to exceed $60,000.
So I think since we're seeking approval and that's something that we're gonna need to vote on, we're gonna have to modify the agenda. So, yeah, well, once we get to the next section, you'll just need to add your modifications.
Okay,
As far as I go, Nothing huge to report, but I've been working really closely with Jaden and Liz on this whole interviewing process, vetting the candidates, picking the top ones, going through the interview process. To Jaden's point, we had some really good interviews. It's a nice problem to have when you have a bunch of really good candidates and you gotta like select what you think is the top ones based off of their resume. I think it was a really enjoyable process. We didn't have a bad interview. That speaks volumes for the type of candidates that we attracted. So, no, I'm excited to talk about this. If it's gonna get added to the new business portion of the agenda and go from there.
I have a couple things. I'll try to keep John under 5 minutes when it's his turn. Other than that, this has been kind of a bit of a different year, but I wanted to put out a friendly reminder, especially to the supervisors, that it is coming up on the end of the year and we need to get our yearly reviews done. That would be, I guess, speaking out to like Kirk and Josh, and at this point, Ronica, until an auditor is hired. Typically, the commissioners do a yearly on, so like I would do one on Josh. If you guys could figure out a way to get that done before the end of the year, if not, maybe try to get it done as soon as possible. I mentioned that to Ronica because we need the forms and I don't know that she has them. So maybe we can just kind of do a generic.
I have the honor.
You have a copy?
Yes.
Perfect. If you could email me that so I can get it to the rest of the commissioners, that'd be great.
Yep.
That's all I have, I think.
All right, next is the modification and or approval of the agenda. So Jaden, where do you want to go?
Well, let's put a spot on there for, those, regarding the verbal offers that I mentioned. And, let's also make a spot, for the Christmas party / Christmas bonus.
Well, are we gonna talk about the hustle bidding?
/ cost of living.
Okay.
All right, so 9 for verbal offers under new business. Would be Christmas party. 11, cost of living. 12, bonuses. Sound fair?
Mhm.
All right, so this will need an approval for the modification of the agenda with those added items.
I will move to approve the agenda with the modification.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the modified agenda. We'll move to a vote,
Yes.
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 and that motion carries. Old business, number 1, legal. This,
All right. Can you all see me and hear me okay?
perfectly.
Very good. Okay, I'm gonna try to be as quick as possible, but I do have a couple of bullet points I want to hit, and there is a likelihood that I'll have some interaction with the agenda, kind of for the reasons that Jaden shared. My first point of business, which also appears under item number 4 under new business, was just the special election. I've heard that went swimmingly. I was pleased to hear that as a statutory member of the canvassing board. We did have the meeting. I'll let you guys dig into the details there. But it went very well. I actually thought it was pretty good turnout for total number of votes for a special election on a single commission seat in the city. So that was good news. And I know I welcomed you at the last meeting, Kyle, but I'll welcome you again as a new commission member. It's nice to see that seat not sitting empty. I've been promising for several meetings now that I would share some litigation updates. I don't want to get too into depth, but we have 2 pieces of litigation which are presently sitting out. And I think it's probably fair to check in with the public on the status of both of those, although I don't have conclusions. I just have some status updates. I'd hope to have a conclusion on one of them. I do not. The first matter, I'm just advising in a general capacity as the city's appointive lawyer. There is a pending action before the court regarding the community center. There was a filing several weeks ago from the plaintiffs in that action. The city is the defendant regarding, a temporary restraining order or injunction, essentially to stop the construction where it stands. Our attorneys through NDERF did a very nice job with the responsive briefing and the available facts and documentation. The hearing on that matter was this last December 6th. I believe that was a Friday. In fact, I know that was a Friday. And the court took that under advisement. That means that the court has read all the briefing. The court conducted an evidentiary hearing on December 6th, heard the arguments and the facts that are available from the parties, and the court is considering the outcome. I don't want to speak for our litigation counsel there, our NDERF counsel, but what I am willing to say is that I think the court certainly appreciates that this is a pressing matter, and the outcome of that motion might be fairly dispositive or critical to the balance of the case. Our Schmidt is a lady, or our judge is a lady named Judge Schmidt. She's a very good jurist. She's a very reliable jurist. She tends to be a very timely judge. And so I was hoping I would be able to tell you the outcome of that motion this evening. But I checked shortly before the meeting and there has been no order from the court. It still remains under advisement. So hopefully we'll have more information on that soon. But more importantly, we just want the court to reach the right decision. And I anticipate that will be soon. Other point of litigation that we have is over the streets. I know that is very, very bothersome to the citizens for very, very significant reasons. I just want to be clear that the commission is doing what they can, but when you become locked up in court process, it is a process. As they say, the wheels of justice turn quite slowly. I updated you all earlier that we have a trial date set out for next year in that action. I will certainly try the case if we have to. One of the other lawyers and I have been doing our darndest to try to traffic all of the parties, including the city, into mediation. One of the other parties in that action, I think, has been fairly cooperative and responsive to those requests, but we can't mediate with only part of the group, right? You have to have a whole conclusion, and that requires all of the parties to participate. There's one party who has been less excited about that attempt. I will follow up again after the new year and see if we can make headway. But in any case, I'll give you updates as they develop. I would very much like for that matter to settle early because I think it takes tremendous time and energy to go through litigation. But that may have to be, we may have to do the whole rodeo, unfortunately. We'll see how that goes. I guess the only other point that I have outside of those that may require my participation on the agenda, echo what Brett and Jaden have said regarding the auditor's interview. I know both commission members spent tremendous time. I was part of the interview panel. This is kind of a unique situation. I was very impressed with all of the applicants. I think Brett hit the nail on the head in saying it's a very good problem to have a lot of qualified applicants apply and weed down. The interviews went well. I too enjoyed the experience of getting to meet with them and hearing what they had to say. And I've spoken very briefly with Jaden and his proposals and crunched some math with him. And I'm fully in support of what I think he will propose tonight, both from a practical short-term and long-term standpoint, frankly. So I'll be excited to hear Jaden share that with everyone, but went well, and thank those two commissioners for the time they invested into this process because I know it was substantial. And I think that's all I have to share this evening.
Liz, I'm gonna ask on the community center, and I don't, if you can't answer it, please just tell me you can't answer it, but it sounds to me like we have two avenues or two options that the judge could decide. One would be continue on. Two would be suspend briefly, which would, in my mind, cost the city money. It would cost the city time. There would be guaranteed penalties involved and potentially the exact same outcome as if we just left it alone and continue building. Is that fair?
I think that's a correct understanding, yes. The motion that's at bar is for a temporary restraining order, and I should have been more clear on that, so I appreciate the clarification there, or question. It is to suspend, the injunction seeks to suspend construction. And, I mean, it goes without saying, and that's a public record in our briefing, that would be both impractical, expensive, and quite difficult to manage, not only financially, but practically. The bones are on that structure. It's up. The foundation is up. That's come through these commission meetings. The pay applications have been approved. And so I think all of those are facts, Brett, which the judge will take very seriously in calculating the outcome. If the judge does not suspend the project, my view is that functionally the suit is kind of over. I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm not counsel. But if the construction continues at the timely pace, by the time you even reach trial on this matter, whatever that may be for, the building is likely to be complete. Functionally, I think that's a de facto end to the suit if construction continues. If there's an adverse ruling for the city, there will be other issues that arise for exactly the reason that you suggest. So I'm very confident in our NDERF counsel, and I'm very confident in the facts because they're facts. And I think the law is fairly clear on this issue, and we're in a good spot. So.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that there's, I don't want to call it a line in the sand, but really just two avenues. There's one that we know the outcome. The other avenue would be so many different unknowns, both logistically, economically, financially. Okay, cool. All right, thank you. Moving on to number 2, engineer report. I don't know if Josh is on. I'll see a participant list.
He was on the reorg meeting, so I don't know if he didn't join early and then I'm not sure, but I saw that he joined for the reorg. I don't see him on my side here.
Well, if he pops on later, we'll probably drag him in. All right, moving on to number 3, community center expansion update.
Good evening. I'm here to give the status update on the pay update. For the pay up request, I guess you could say. So currently, as you can see, we are enclosing the structure. Interior metal building, standing seam roof is complete. Steel erection is 100% complete. EPM roofing is ongoing, and then our insulated metal panel installation is currently 95% complete. And we are doing slab and grade check and pouring on the inside of the structure. That'd be on the low roof area. Next reporting period, our slab and grade will be complete. Our interior metal stud framing will be ongoing, and overhead and thin wall mechanical, electrical, and plumbing will be ongoing. Questions on the status?
Anything on the status, but it looks great.
Yeah, it's going up quick. Insulated metal panels really go fast, and it took a while to get the structure here, but once it showed up, we've been working very diligently to get it erected.
I'm always surprised whenever I drive by and it's dark for the weekend. You guys are still out there doing
Yeah, we got light
something.
plants going. So.
Yeah.
And then for the pay app request, the pay app would be, we are requesting payment for, it would be $807,771.
It's payout number 5.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll move to approve pay app number 5.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve payout number 5 totaling $807,771.60. Is there any discussion on that? And we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, that motion carries.
All right, well, thank you guys.
thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
All right, new business. First up, we would have our election certification from the canvas meeting. Monica, how in-depth do we want to go with this other than I'll hold the most votes? You won the special election, and he's our tiny new street commissioner. Works for me. All right, number 5, it's Scott.
Timer starting.
Yeah, it's very, 30 minutes per topic.
No.
Lady Vikings of Minnesota are playing tonight, so.
This one's on. There we go. Okay. First item I have here is going to be, my Becca Glidden had submitted a letter of resignation. I don't remember the exact date that she had submitted that and it was accepted. However, some of the things in her life has changed. She's decided she would like to stay with the agency and no longer wishes to resign from her position as a detective with the Tioga Police Department. And so in your packet, you should have a letter addressed to you guys seeking to rescind her letter. And basically it'll read, "Dear members of the Tioga City Commission, I hope this letter finds you well, and I'm writing to formally rescind my previous resignation notice, which I had submitted with the intent to leave my position at the Tioga Police Department at the end of this year. After careful reflection and consideration, I have decided to continue my service to the department and the community of Tioga. I value the opportunity to serve and am committed to supporting the mission and growth of the department. I kindly request that you accept this letter as a formal retraction of my resignation and that I may remain in my current position with the Tioga Police Department. Thank you for your time, or thank you for your understanding and continued support. If you have any questions or need further clarification, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Detective Sarah Litton." So Sarah does provide a very valuable asset to our department in the sense that she handles a lot of the investigative things that occur. It would be unfortunate to lose her. So at this point, we are seeking to get approval to rescind her letter of resignation.
I will make the motion to approve, the letter of resignation to rescind it.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the formal retraction of your resignation letter.
Yep.
That sounds good.
Move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Thank you. And that motion carries. And new business number 6, I'm assuming that's as well, right?
It sure is. So I've been back and forth with the police department range and ideas on that for some time, right before you guys stepped into the commission spots, we were looking at potentially developing an indoor range. However, we want something that's going to be financially responsible to the taxpayer, that's low maintenance, low overhead costs to operate on an annual basis. And unfortunately, that fell through. Just recently, there was a plot of land that came up for sale down on 108th, just south of Highway 2 there. There's no specific postal address to that yet. However, it's on 3.28 acres is what that lot is. It's undeveloped. However, there's power that has been run out to that location. So what I'm seeking right now at this point is to, well, it'd be a couple different motions. Number one, it would be to give me the authority to potentially, well, to contact the realtor to put together a a contract for purchase of that land contingent upon various items, which would include planning and zoning, which I place that call today. Zone commercial currently, so I don't think there's gonna be any issue with putting a police department range there. The idea would be an outdoor range, most likely dirt berms. My vision for that would maybe be having a structure on that land that we can have a simple garage with tables, maybe some heat that we can do some classroom style training in and then go out and do our shooting. However, like I say, very low maintenance and operation cost. So looking to seek approval to potentially sign a purchase agreement for the land and also approval to go before 1% to obtain the funds for that, which would be $45,000 for that parcel.
So what happens if the shooting range doesn't come to fruition? We'd just be stuck with some land.
Well, yeah, so that would be, acquiring the land would be kind of the first step to that. And then I would submit a second 1% application once, like we would have to go before Josh with engineering most likely to get bids on dirt work to develop the berms. That would be the next step. And then maybe the final step or phase of that project would be the building itself. Where our range currently is right now, there's a walking path that runs behind it. And I've gone back and forth with the idea of, well, maybe if we just relocate our current range to the top side of that berm where it is now, maybe that would be sufficient. However, that would also require a lot of dirt work to complete that. And it's still, it just still doesn't quite sit right with me with the proximity of that recreational area that we have right behind us. Whereas this option would be much further out.
So would the 1% fund the shooting range, the structure, the everything all inclusive? Or would the city have to participate?
Typically the 1% is really good about assisting us with the development of things like that. Obviously there's no 100% guarantee. I can't make a promise on that. However, I don't foresee any issues with that. You know, we did bring our last project with the indoor range to them. There was some, they were a little hesitant on that because of the operation costs annually. They did give me some food for thought on that. The next 1% meeting is on Wednesday night. So what I would like to do is get the approval and the go ahead I need from here. And then go before 1% with this and then pose those questions to them. And then if it looks like it's going to be an issue, then I'll just back out of that deal and not sign a purchase agreement for that, if that makes sense. 1% typically meets every other month as it sits right now. So to answer your question, I don't foresee a problem. I think they'll be supportive of it. And the last time we went to them, you know, they even had commented that, you know, $1 million could move a lot of dirt. How much dirt, I don't know, but I'm not in that industry, but I do have a fair belief that we would have that support from them.
So I guess I kind of have a follow-up question for Brett's because I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. Josh, are you suggesting that 1% would contribute to the purchase of the land, or 1% would only contribute funds towards alteration or structures to the land? I don't know if that's what you were asking, Brett, but I would like to be aware of that, I guess, generally.
Yeah, so in a perfect world, we would already have the land to construct this range, and then I would have already put things out for bid to develop the range. However, I don't own the land and I don't have the authority to put things out for bid right now currently as it sits. So my goal is to take this in phases to where I can acquire the land through 1%. So they, you know, I'm seeking $45,000 through Williams County 1%. So acquire the land and then start working with, I don't know, maybe Josh from more engineering or whoever I need to work with on the architect side to develop the berms, get that put out for a quote, and maybe even at that point, kill two birds with one stone, even do the structure, which should be fairly minimal. And then bring that completed application back to 1% for like a second application to 1% to develop the land. And at that point is my goal.
So the idea then is to, get approval for this and then take this to the 1% board and have them approve it, and if they don't approve it, then you're just going to back out, is that what you're saying, more or less?
Right, yeah, so.
That's for the land, like, not the building and stuff, that's a whole separate thing, right?
Right, yeah, so I'm looking to break it down into two phases, right? So the first phase here would be to acquire the land. And in terms of the purchase agreement, we can put contingent upon receiving that grant. And if that were to fall through, then obviously we would then back out of that deal. But then, you know, I can also do my due diligence on this Wednesday and ask them, hey, this is what I'm looking for, you know, because they're all this, I mean, we have an application for them for these funds, you know, and if I come back later on with, another application that costs, you know, ballpark of $500,000, for example, to do dirt work and a simple structure building with heat and lighting, nothing extremely substantial. Would there be an issue? I don't foresee that if we keep it really super simple with very low overhead.
Where's this at? I can't seem to pull it up on the map. How far is it out of?
Yeah, so 108th and Highway 2, it's kind of over by where the Capitol Man Camp used to be, but it's gonna be south of Highway 3, so kind of over on the Target Logistics side, but east of that. I think there's an old saltwater disposal there, there's some storage units over there, and I
It is right next to that old saltwater disposal. That's off 108.
yeah.
I think that would be like across the street from
Yeah.
where the land is.
So my concern is gonna sound really odd.
No, that's all right.
I'm actually concerned that they do approve the 45,000, but then they leave you hanging on everything that comes later. So now we've got land, essentially, if you're not able to pull out and you're stuck with it. And then you start wondering if it would make more sense just to install barricades on the walking path to isolate that walking path while you guys are using it. Because it wouldn't be very often, I wouldn't think, that you guys are using the shooting range, correct?
It wouldn't be daily, no. And I mean, when we did our 3-year plan with 1%, you know, our idea was to improve that area for us as well and put our current structure down there is mouse infested and is a health hazard. So, replacing that structure, running electrical down there, all of that. Make it more usable, but we would need to make sure that whatever barricades we put up, if we redevelop that area, are extremely sufficient. Because that is a very serious matter, and we really, having somebody on that walking path, directly behind our range causes serious concern for us.
The other thing is, I really like Josh with more engineering, but boy, is he expensive.
Yeah,
You pull him in to start evaluating cost for projects, and you're getting charged just for the evaluation portion.
I was gonna ask, and this sounds crazy, but is it something our guys could do? Could they build berms, like dirt work?
it's, you know what, I don't know that they have the time to do what we would be asking them to do. To be fair to them, I mean, they're pretty busy, and I think that some of what we would need to do if we were looking at revamping that area would require a lot larger equipment than what we currently have in the inventory side of the city.
It'd just be kind of nice to have an idea of like how much that dirt work is gonna cost. Things of that nature.
Yeah, in order to get that, I would need to put that out for bid, and putting it out for bid's gonna require somebody to be involved with that, which is gonna require me to cost money, which is why I'm trying to acquire the land first, so then that way it's not a deal where we're spending money, but then all of a sudden we don't have the land to do it. So it's a really kind of a catch 22.
What if we purchase the land and it costs a crazy outrageous number to move the dirt, then what are we gonna do?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for you on that.
Have you
Can I
went out
ask
to
one
look
more?
at this? Oh, go ahead, Liz.
I'm sorry, Jaden. No, you go first and then I'll ask. It's okay.
So have you been out to the area? What's it look like out there?
Yeah, you do, yeah, the area to the south of that is undeveloped, it's all farmland. The area that we're looking at here currently is being farmed. Area to the north of it is storage units, much similar to what you have off the Second Street South there. And then there's a saltwater disposal across the street, to my knowledge, from talking to the realtor, it doesn't sound like that disposal is even being used. So,
Do you know how high, your back wall, I guess, that you'd be shooting at? Do you know how high that has to be? I'm sure there's is there like a requirement on that?
yeah, NRA has a standard on that, it's what, 21 feet? Yeah, close to about 21 feet tall, which our current berm doesn't really meet that.
About 12.
Huh?
About 12.
Oh, yeah, our current berm's about 12 feet.
I'm done for you then.
Right. Yeah, we have some serious issues, like, we're really trying to create a safe environment for everybody else, but also being able to have an area that we can utilize whenever we need to utilize it. And it's incredibly important that we maintain proficiency in firearms use, because that's where you have some very significant liability.
I like the idea. I
Yeah.
even like, how far out of town it is. I think that's good. Just be nice to have just a little bit more, numbers done on it is kind of my hang up on it. Cause you guys need somewhere to shoot, and I don't think it's really
Would
sufficient.
you guys feel more comfortable if we allowed him to see if the 1% would be willing to give him money for the land? And if he gets, and he kind of fills them out for how they would help further down the road, do you think that would ease your guys' mind a little bit? It's hard to get those numbers if you can't put something out to bid, you know?
So I wanted to ask that practical question of Josh. Sorry, Joel, hang tight for me. Maybe you'll be the guy that answers it, but assume that for whatever reason, phase 1 or phase 2 of this are not feasible or are not granted. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but just assume that's the case. And it sounds like we all agree that there's tremendous liability in not keeping officers up to snuff on firearm safety and handling. Certainly, I think that's fair. But where else could you train? And what would be the expense associated with that? Because if it's not a daily training where it has to be local, is there another law enforcement range that exists? And if so, what's the distance and fee to use that? I'm just spitballing in case something should fail. I don't know that it's a catch-22. You might just need a third option.
Right, so Williston PD has their own range, but I know they're very busy with scheduling on that, so it's not likely we would be able to get into that. The next closest option, which would be a little bit closer, would be Stanley. They have an indoor range. However, when we do department training, because we are a very small department, we like to train together. It's important for us to train together. So we're talking that now all of your officers are going to be 29 miles away at the indoor range in Stanley.
That range is 7, 8 miles away, or this area you're looking to develop.
Correct, yeah. Maybe a little bit closer than that.
I'd say about 6 or something, probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
Here's the spooky part, since you mentioned the saltwater disposal right across the street. those things don't ever die. I mean, they shut down for a while, but there's always someone with deep pockets that comes into the Baca and they wanna relit the well. When that happens, it's not an if, it's going to happen. What are the chances that they shut you guys down and say, nope, no firearms, no lead slinging?
Well, and so I know there's a lot of what ifs in here, which is why, you know, signing a purchase agreement for that land would be contingent upon getting those answers, because a lot of those I don't have right now.
Well, I'm assuming that going through the county, they would have to zone it so that he could use it as a shooting range. I don't know that the saltwater depot could come in and shut them down if they're approved to do that through the county.
They probably could, because you can move a shooting range, you can't move pipe that's 20,000 foot in the ground.
Sure.
I mean, they're permitted for everything, surface and underground.
Well, okay, so is there a way then I can maybe get approval to a certain degree to start getting information, maybe potentially bids for dirt work where we currently are? Because I mean, I don't, like, we're coming up on a time of year here where we can get a lot of that done, but come spring, we're gonna need to be able to utilize where we currently are to be able to train. So how do I do that?
This is probably something you don't know, but let's just say you go to Williams County for the 1%, they approve the 45,000 for the land. Project mothballs, we aren't able to build on it for whatever reason.
Sure.
I would assume we're not allowed to sell the land, like we go for something, they give it to us and we can't profit off of it. So is that something that would go back to Williams County? Like we would forfeit it back to them?
Well, that's where we would put that stipulation in the purchase agreement. So if we're not able to develop it or get the permits to build that, then the purchase agreement would then just kind of fall apart and dissolve, and we wouldn't continue forward with it, would be the idea.
Could they put any stipulations on saying you have to build in a certain amount of time?
I don't think they could.
Well, I think your seller would. I think Brett's driving at a particular point. I don't know the rules of 1%, and I don't know what the county would impose, but I know county planning and zoning can sometimes be somewhat challenging and time consumptive. But I think certainly a seller would not offer the contingency the sale falls through. I guess I don't know that from the county, but the seller, if they're selling their land, they want it sold within a reasonable period of time. And the contingency for financing would be pretty routine, but a contingency entertaining all kinds of intervening zoning issues, you might run more into a problem with the actual fundamental purchase and sale of the land than its development there. So something to be mindful of.
So to go back, then you would be seeking, let's just say we discard this land for now, you would want to build up our current range to make it as safe as possible for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal, but we would definitely need to have the gates to shut it off at both ends to be able to do that. And it would have to be a fairly substantial amount of fencing to do that.
So it's way more of a riddle than I thought it would be.
Yeah, no, I know, it's definitely a tough one.
Been a tough one.
It's one
I
that,
don't know. But I kind of like the idea.
just revamping what we have now.
I like,
No,
Oh,
I think putting it out there would be better. I don't think the dam's very sufficient for shooting. I just don't. I've never really thought it was. So
right.
I agree, you guys need something different. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea. There's so many unknowns.
There is, and to be transparent, I was a part of the building committee for the police department, but I wasn't a part of the initial process and the what ifs and how does that work. So I'm kind of going at this
But here's the other thing, is if you guys move the gun range out of town, you know the community's gonna want their old gun range back for public use, and I wouldn't trust
No.
that with the walking path. I would trust you guys using it with the walking path, I mean, you're trained. You know what the hazards are. I'm not saying that's where it should be, I'm asking, what happens to the old gun range then? Does it get demoed and it's just like wasted space?
Right, yeah, you'd likely be filling in those berms with other dirt, so you would just kind of streamline that area. I mean, you know, unfortunately, I mean, for the public, I mean, there's a reason that we're seeking to move elsewhere, and if it's for safety concerns, then certainly we're not gonna allow the shooting then at that point.
I think we probably asked enough questions on this particular topic for you guys to make a choice. I mean, at the end of the day, the grant, right? So we're not on the hook for anything
Right.
until we find out we're on the hook for everything.
And certainly, you know, when it comes to the point of the language of the purchase agreement or what have you, we can run that through Liz, so then that way Liz maybe can help guide us if this goes wrong or if that goes wrong in the initial, you know.
I do agree with Liz though, where she's saying that, you know, the owner of the land might not want to hang on to a contingent for very long.
Right.
So if you're gonna do that and make an offer, you need to be ready to move, because they're not gonna want to wait 30, 60 days.
Right.
I also want to make sure you're not settling just because this is available right now. That you deserve to have ideal, right?
Sure.
I don't think 7, 8 miles is ideal, but if it's the best we have right now, fine. Just want to make sure that you're not settling.
Well, I have a question. And I don't even know if there's enough space there, but where the old, shooting range is now, why couldn't we build some sort of indoor shooting range there? Wouldn't that make it more safe?
It would certainly make it safe. The issues that we ran into with the idea of an indoor shooting range was the maintenance costs. You have to replace not only your standard building air filtration, but then you need to replace HEPA filter type style air filtration. You got to make sure you have the ventilation systems serviced and maintained. Yeah, because the building has to be positive pressure. Potentially lead decontamination every so often. It sounds like it's going to be fairly substantial. My goal isn't to develop something because, you know, we're not there every single day, right? It's not like our police department.
I just
But
thought if there was a smaller-ish building, you know, where it
yeah,
wasn't a giant.
I think it's still going to run fairly substantial on the cost side. And yeah.
So you're probably thinking that this is probably the cheapest option,
That's what I'm thinking.
pretty much. I mean, is there any, interest to let, public use that? Or are you thinking just strictly private?
So currently our police department range is private. They did that for a couple reasons back in the boom. It was, folks were bringing stuff, appliances down there, shooting the appliances and leaving that litter behind. And there's certainly a liability component of it, being that it is city owned. To do a proper range, you should probably have a safety officer there monitoring that and making sure everybody's being safe with what they're doing, and would probably associate a liability waivers with that as well. I haven't entertained, I mean, I'm not saying no, but I haven't really entertained the idea of that, you know, because now who's going to staff that and make sure people are safe with their firearms handling?
Do they have other city ranges, don't they? Like, doesn't Williston have a city?
Well, yeah, like Stanley's is open to the public.
They're indoor, or do they have an outdoor?
They have an outdoor one too.
There's gotta be something where we could check into it. I mean, especially if it's out of town, I would think that it would be nice to open it to the public.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that.
And I think it would be more welcomed and received by the public if we open it to the public.
Sure.
It's because there's no place to go around here, like,
No, I don't disagree with you. I think it would be great for them to have something as well as to how
Just
that would.
haven't put a thought to the basically, is what you're saying.
right.
At the moment,
Right,
you know. okay.
because there would be a lot of. What would that waiver look like? What, I mean, I guess that would be up to you guys on,
I'm sure something could be drawn up. I just think it would look more appetizing to the public if they also know that there's a possibility that they have a place to go. And I mean, maybe you even do like dump hours, you open it up to the public on certain days, certain hours.
sure,
And I think that would be fair.
Yeah, I miss having a public range.
So do I.
was Born and raised here, and when it went away, it was just like, ah, it never came back. So now it's really tough to find somewhere, especially.
I also think that if it was open to the public, it would probably be if that grant doesn't cover absolutely everything and we wanted to use some money for it, it would probably look better.
sure,
If it was open to the public. I mean, and if we had, and I'm not saying open your building to the public,
no,
but if we had that building and say they wanted to do like hunters education out there or something, or a concealed weapons class,
yeah, absolutely.
that would be awesome.
I think that would be, I do think that would be great for the community. It would just be kind of a logistical thing of how would that all sort out? Because I think at the end of the day, if you're gonna have something like that, it is incredibly important that you have that staff to make sure that, you know, while most folks out there are responsible shooters, and I understand that, there are a percentage out there that are not, we have to acknowledge that as well. And so making sure that that's a place that's safe for everybody to go there and recreationally shoot, I think is incredibly important.
There's a ton of gun ranges out there though that don't have anything manned. There's gotta be a way we can get around that. I
I
mean,
think-
do it legally, but
You can't be the only gun range that's manned while it's being.
I think simply having a camera out there, so if you see somebody bring their appliance out there and try to blow it up or something, I mean, there is, like, we definitely can be having that. But, how do you think 1% would, do you think that would change, the possibility of getting a grant?
If it's a public deal, I mean, if the idea is you're doing it more so for the public, then yeah.
I mean, it's more so for you guys, but
Right,
it's more for you guys than it is for the public, but in my opinion.
yeah, I don't know, I can ask them on Wednesday. I think when you meet with them on Wednesday, I think the one issue you might have is there'll be people wanting more concrete numbers. And I know it's hard right now because you're trying to get the ball rolling. But the thing is you can bring it to them, you can talk to them about it. An outdoor range is a heck of a lot cheaper than an indoor range by far. So that's one step for sure. But you can talk to the whole board, see what they think. But I think we should at least give them, a start because the range that's there, Gold Range, is not sufficient at all. It's not safe.
Right.
It needs to go elsewhere.
none of it is safe. Yeah,
Right, and that's kind of the thing we ran into with the indoor range proposal was, and that, you know, since you bring that up, was they did want more concrete numbers on that, because we went to them with estimate from EAPC on what a facility would like that would cost, and what they in essence wanted was for us to put that out for bid to get a more solid number on that. However, to do that, it's gonna involve us to spend money, so it's I'm not sure how to start that process.
Would it be better for us to just give you permission to seek out bids? I know it'll cost money, But that way, when you bring it to them, you have those sufficient numbers. And they would probably be more apt to go for it.
I have reservations on that because what if we now spend money out of the city's pockets to get bids for something that is gonna take a while to plan and develop, like it's all a couple of months at least. And now all of a sudden that land is no longer available. I think that I don't have an answer on that.
I think we ran the traps on the project from start to finish. Outdoor, indoor building, no building, but the reality is you're just seeking approval to go to Williams County to submit your application, right? That's not saying that they'll approve it. That's not saying that, but you just want approval to go to them and seek out them.
Yes, this is for a grant, so as of right now, it wouldn't cost the actual city anything. And then once it goes through the 1%, it still has to go through Williams County.
Well, I was just making sure
Yeah.
that we're not like. I think I would have no problem approving it if there was that contingency. I think I'd be good with that.
Which contingency are you looking for? I'm sorry.
Like, if we don't get the grant, then we just don't buy the land.
What I can do is I can hold off on the purchasing agreement until that's solid. Until we've actually received, funding from
I do think
1%.
that would be necessary.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not looking to go and sign a purchasing agreement tomorrow, to be transparent. So,
I mean, the meetings, what did you say, Wednesday? So I mean,
yes,
you could get, if everything's a go, then you could get right started on that pretty much.
no, not entirely. So how 1% works is we have to bring our applications before a city commission or the governing board of that entity. It then goes before the 1% board. And then the final check and balance of that is Williams County Commission. So it would have to go through their next Williams County Commission meeting and if approved there at that point. If then approved at that point.
Well, I'm just thinking if you were gonna start working on that purchase agreement soon, you're not gonna wait for that to be all decided either way, are you? Before you start working on it? Like if we approved it today,
Mhm.
are you still gonna wait until all that's gone through before you start planning?
I mean, I could and I couldn't. It depends on what you guys would feel most comfortable with at this point, I guess. I mean, we can do a contingent upon receiving the grant money. And we can certainly do it without receiving or with receiving the grant money and then moving forward from there, it's still available. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, no, it's fine to be okay with that. I feel like we need to know what happens with the grant, so.
I would say contingency on, receiving the grant for that as well as contingency of planning and zoning from Williams County as well.
Then I guess if we hopefully we'll land there. Might go quick. I think it's important to realize though that it appears, and I want to speak for the board, but it does appear that they understand the severity of your situation. And I definitely want something that is not only good for you guys, but that's not a safety hazard to the citizens. So
Sure.
if this does not work, we're not done talking about it, but.
No, and that's fair.
Yeah,
I completely understand that, but also know on the transparency side of things, if we don't go this route today, I don't know how to jumpstart this process in the future, so I need a
Yeah.
little bit of help with that.
nope, I get that. I agree with Brett. I think it would be fair to do with the contingency on the grant and. What do you think, Kyle?
No, yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah,
Sounds fair, right?
contingency on the grant of 1%.
Or maybe Williams County, assuming Williams County would roll with it too, but. Okay,
Yeah, it would have to be on the contingency of, I guess I make a motion, I give Josh, approval to go to 1% with the contingency of, getting approval from them to purchase the land. Williams County and planning and zoning to build a shooting range out there on this, location, out on 108th.
Right. So clear. I'll second that.
How are we gonna clean that up? It would be really appreciative if we cleaned it up, so.
Hopefully just, I
I don't know, you can.
Approval to move forward with the grant application with the
So
contingency that,
Help us, Liz.
okay, yeah, Liz,
Yeah.
if you wanna help, that'd be great.
I think I can maybe save you here. So I think you're perhaps moving to approve permission for Josh to submit his application to 1%. But you're telling him that in order to execute a purchase agreement, should it be approved, he would have to have a contingency. I don't know why I just got balloons. That was amazing. That was really weird. He would have to have a contingency for approval of financing. That means 45,000 from whoever the final approval is in Williams County. And he would have to have at least tentative approval from planning and zoning. So you're approving the application subject to, you're approving the application, but you're conditioning any prospective purchase agreement with the condition that financing is ultimately approved by the ultimate authority in Williams County. And secondly, that zoning be at least tentatively approved for the purposes of a range. I think those are probably the two contingencies you've described.
But just so I'm clear, so I would have approval for the 1% application and then a secondary approval for the purchasing agreement on those conditions.
Correct.
That sounded fantastic, Liz.
I'll still second.
I gave you balloons even. I don't even know how I did that.
That was great.
All right, so we got a motion and a second to approve Josh going to Williams County for the 1% grant. We should vote on that one.
Aye.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, so that motion carries. And secondly, you want to make a motion with the contingencies laid out by Liz, and we can all review the video afterwards, so you don't have to go word for word, so. Motion for approval of purchase contingencies.
Need a motion approval from,
For purchase.
for purchase
The contingent.
with the contingencies of what Liz stated.
Yes. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the purchase narrative, right? To move to a vote?
Yes.
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 Okay, that motion carries too. All right, thank you very much.
It was way longer than 5
We
minutes.
will see you on January 6th.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right, so new business number 7 is quotes for the wastewater treatment facility repairs.
Or two.
Oh, shoot. Yep, come on up. Josh, we're gonna take you in here. I'm gonna throw you on the mic.
Got you there.
Okay, Josh, hang on just 1 second.
Thank you.
Try that.
You able to hear me there?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Apologize for missing my spot earlier on the agenda. I got, or was unable to get connected here. So thanks for bumping me back here and helping me that. Present, so in the package I submitted, pretty brief agenda here, just have the Northeast Tioga Reconstruction Phase 2 project. Brett and I had a meeting with the contractor here three and a half weeks ago, something like that, and discussed the seating, and kind of what we concluded was they were open to the city hiring a landscape contractor separately to complete the seeding and landscape work on that project, and just withholding payment. I guess the idea from that was we would work with the city on getting some proposals for that. So we'll get that ball rolling here probably this week yet, and likely won't have any results until sometime after the new year. But that's kind of where that one stands. Northeast Tioga Reconstruction Phase 2, or excuse me, the Tioga Dam Recreational Trail Project. That project, we do have a contractor's application for payment for Bechtel paving. The amount requested and recommended for payment there is $133,333.71. Again, as with the previous pay applications, the project didn't meet contracted timeframe completion dates on the project. So there is, I guess, the decision by the commission to assess liquidated damages at the previous pay application. 31 days of liquidated damages were withheld at $1,000 a day. I guess with this one, the situation of winter setting in, I guess the contract doesn't technically have any provisions for that. However, I would say it's fairly common practice amongst I guess other projects that we've been involved in, and the city of Tioga has done as well. Make a suspension of liquidated damages upon a freeze up date, I guess, due to inability to complete any work. I will say they have completed all work items. They did complete, I guess the last item was seeding, and that was, excuse me, completed on November 18th. So that, I guess, maybe a target date to, I guess, look at for assessment of liquidated damages. I guess I'll kind of leave it at that, and if there's any other questions, the discussion that I want to have on that. Here to answer any questions. So.
Yeah, how about this? I don't know if I've heard of a project yet where there hasn't been some sort of, we're behind schedule, we haven't finished, we need to suspend liquidated damages. I say enough. Like, enough is enough with giving everybody all these freebies for dragging their feet on projects. Like, if there's liquidated damages to be had, I'd say you go after 100% of them.
We normally do. Liquidated damages.
Or we give them another year to finish. Or 3, yeah. Gosh, I'm sorry, I'm sassy with this whole construction thing, because it seems like we just can't get it right anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely understand the frustrations of completion dates not being met. This is the kind of the idea then. I guess they would have met their substantial completion date, or hit. They didn't meet the contracted date, but they met that. And really the only thing that we're waiting on at this point is just this seat to get established here in the spring, and any miscellaneous punch list items that may come of that at that point. So
Well, do they have to make a decision on LDs right now, Josh? I guess part of the reason that we address LDs is to ensure timely compliance and to motivate people to get done on time. I hate to see them decide
Yeah.
definitively that they're going to impose them when there's still work outstanding. They don't have to decide that tonight, do they?
Yeah, well, you know, I would say that there should be some form of decision because there is a application for payment in front of the commission. But, you know, I guess until the project's closed out, I wouldn't say that or until that time, you know, that's kind of when the final decision would be made on it. But yeah, in order to, I guess, process this pay application, there would need to be some form of decision made on that.
I'm not familiar with the application, but was all the work billed in the application completed before the contractual substantial completion date?
It's not.
Well, I think they'd want to know definitively how many days they were over on an LD basis.
Was it the 31 days?
Substantial completion would have been at November 18th. That would be, and that would account for 48 days of liquidated damage. At $1,000 a day, correct?
Of those 48 days, were any severely impaired by weather? I mean, were there like torrential rains? Was there any kind of weather in the?
So we'd be down to 85,333.71.
Which company is this for?
That's all, yeah.
That's all, sorry.
So I get it, Josh, you're gonna have a little fight on your hands, but I promise you I'll be right there with you. What's fair is fair.
Mhm.
It's up to you guys. You wanna pay them all in full, whether they finished or not? Or you wanna hold them accountable? Hold them accountable. So do we need to modify this dollar amount and just agree to pay them the 85,333.71? Does that work for you, John?
That's what would be, I guess if that's the motion that would be, I guess, passed, we would just write that in on the line that indicates payment approved by owner. Midway down that page is where that amount would be, filled in and then, check issued for that value, so.
I'll make the motion to approve the $85,333.71.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the reduced amount from pay app number 3 in the amount of $85,333.71. Is there any discussion on this? Okay, we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, that motion carries.
Excellent. I guess last item I had is the update on the baseball field relocation project. The documentation for submitting the clomer to FEMA is, I indicated on there about 50% complete, probably more like 75 by now. And end of planning by the end of next week to have that submitted. The FEMA review fee, we kind of discussed that a little bit, and I think it's probably a more seamless process if we just pay that, we'd be able to just pay that fee, and then I would just ask that we would be reimbursed for that through the city. Otherwise, we would, probably have to coordinate with the auditor's office to get that payment made upon, submittal of that. I guess either way is fine with us. Just wanted to see what process you guys would prefer.
You don't charge us anything for submitting payments, right? There's no markup? It feels like I'm picking on you, Josh. I promise I'm not.
Fair question.
No, it's a fair question.
Very common for markups.
Is there a difference on Veronica, do you care?
If he presents it as a pay app versus just submitting it in with their monthly bill. It depends on how you guys want it paid, if you want to see it in the commission meeting or if you want to see it in the monthly bills.
Yeah, what's the cost, Josh?
Just what FEMA charges for that review.
We have checks for the construction payment account at First State Bank for the community center.
So the baseball field has its own project line. There's a budget line for that one, so I wouldn't be coming out of that account. There's already a fund designated for the baseball field project. No, it's its own project line. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's 400 something. General fund would be 100.
Were you able to transfer that fund into, like, roll it into the community center? 'Cause I mean, the reason the field's being moved is because of the community center, right?
It would, I believe, require us to amend our budget at the end of the year. I believe. It'd be potentially a lot of work to amend our budget in this middle of December.
The right thing to do. Anytime you move something because of the new bill, it should be going first towards the new bill, because that's the reason it got moved, right? Okay, so just regular bill pay, that's the commission meeting, or do you want it on a payout?
Do you think it's necessary to throw in the 8 grand? I don't think so yet. I was thinking it was more than that, but just put it on the regular bill. I'm good with that, Josh. You don't need a motion for that, right? Just put it on the regular bill.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay with that, so we'll just, take care of it and then just include it on one of our invoices, so. That's all I have this evening. If there's any questions for me.
Oh,
Okay.
thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
All right, Mike, we're on the number, I guess, 7. So the quotes for the wastewater treatment facility repairs.
Yes, I got I guess a few quotes. I don't have them all in yet. They are gonna take a couple weeks to get some of them. And, on the first quote with Sweeney, you guys have that. You can see for the panel itself is $64.50. And they have them come out here, drive out here from Fargo to install it. It's nearly $3,000. But troubleshooting last week with these guys over the phone the best I could with them. I have, another meter that's down, not registering, causing my system not to be on automatic. So they have to drive out here anyways, and I'm still waiting on that bid from them. But I'm guessing it's gonna be close to $3,000 just to drive here and then work in a hotel room. So I'm gonna guess, without seeing that part of the bid or estimate, That's probably gonna be close to $4,000, I'm guessing. So with the cost of the panel, the SCADA system, and that's gonna be up over 10 grand. Just for that one part for the first four or five steps I have here.
What do you think?
What I think,
Yeah.
it needs to be in auto. The system needs to work automatically, so when we're at home in bed sleeping vacation, we're not out there running a switch by hand. And then turning it off by hand, and this is a system that's made to run itself, and we're supposed to just check it, maintain it. Like, that's the first step in getting it back under control, I guess.
So overtime costs money, fuel for you to go out there costs money. Having certainty that whoever's working on it, that's their gig, that's what they do, that's definitely worth something. I would think it's worth every dollar to have them come out and just take care of it all.
Well, and to make sure that there's no kind of failure in case we didn't develop it for some reason, I think would be worth every dollar.
Okay,
Yeah, because we don't mean that you can install it, but why should you have to?
it's an easy install, but no, finding out that I need that, waste pump, meter to register, I can't fix that myself. I need them out there anyways to troubleshoot
Might
it.
as well.
They might as well come this way.
I'm sure a lot of that stuff you need to reprogram when you throw the panel viewing.
When he said I could just plug it in and it worked, but I don't believe it. Like,
It never is that.
what's that?
It's never that.
No.
Should we just make an approval, like, up to,
Yeah, cause you,
say, 10,000, and if we did cover the rest? Later? Would that make sense?
you don't know for sure what it's gonna cost, we could do like a not to exceed.
Right, that's what I was thinking, like, not to exceed.
Yeah, and I can relay that to him then.
Well, I mean, don't completely away.
Right.
I know, I'm just telling that I need to know what it's gonna.
Yeah. And so it was just over 6, and you're thinking it's gonna be another $4,000.
$4,000, I mean, I'm hoping that's including the hotel rooms and fuel and drive home, drive back, drive here.
It's like if we just made a motion to approve maybe 10,500 or not to exceed 10,500.
I think 12 something's gonna just in case.
Right in line.
That's just, we need to.
Fair.
I guess I have spent, a few hours on the phone with them last week, so I'm sure that would be part of the bill too. And I told them not to go over 1,000. So they kept that under 1,000. I don't know how close they got to that.
Very close.
I'm sure.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve, up to 12,000, not to exceed 12,000. How about that?
Second.
All right, so we got a motion and a second to, I guess, hire Sweeney to come make our repairs. In a dollar amount not to exceed 12,000.
Yeah.
We'll move to a vote.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. From G and E as well.
GME with hydro blower motors. So that's these. Bill engines, they're electric. And they are what flows oxygen into a pond here.
So the aerators.
What's that?
Aerators?
Aerator, yes, and we have weights on the bottom, and they're not supposed to be floating towards the top of this one. And that provides oxygen to the microorganisms that we dump in the city to help the pond not fill up with waste, essentially. Long story short. Yes.
Period. How long has this been down? Like, has it been down a while? Or has it been like this a while?
I don't remember off the top of my head a year,
I hear.
This one motor,
Why are we just now hearing about this? Not to be rude or anything, but happened.
I guess I can't answer that off right now. But we're not technically down, we have two motors, so they switch off and on. So one gets a break, the other one works, or you have to change oil on it, a belt or something. So this winter, I just found out that we can run the number two because it's cold outside. But this summer, we'll be down to one motor again. And so that number one motor goes down, our lagoon's basically running on one leg instead of two, you know. But we can still take sewage in and out, but then our lagoons are filling up and our sludge is getting full. And then we have to hire a back service to suck it out, shut down the system and bypass it, and that gets really expensive. I don't even have a number for that, for how much that would be if we had to do that. Not even looking into that yet.
So just for starters, you need a motion to approve, I guess, executing the quote to G&E for $6,067.50.
Yeah, I think that's what it was, yeah, like I said, that they are the only ones that work on it, it's their motor, it's like hiring CAT or hiring GMC, Devon Ford, whatever.
I make a motion, we, have G&E come out for $6,067.50.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second to hire V&E for their quote that totaled $6,067.50. Move to a vote.
Yes.
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 And that motion carries too. There's 3 or 4.
There's four. Number two and number three are tied to each other,
So then,
but they're totally two different parts of the monster. Well, number three, I don't have a quote for part three, and I don't have a quote for part four. So I guess I can just inform you guys what I'm working on with it, I guess, is all. So, like I said, the basin, the water basin, aeration basin here has those weights on them, and Rob and I have been in there before, and after all the training I've been through, I don't feel safe going in there. I feel like it should be a third party that does it because of all the, so to say, bloodborne pathogens that you can catch from it. We don't have the right equipment to work on it. Just because we can do it, then we should do it. It's, I hate to see, somebody go in there and end up with a lifelong illness because of it. That's where I'm with that. And G&E is working on that quote for me because they are essentially the ones that work with this company that puts them in. I can't remember the name that he told me who it is, but they work hand in hand on most every project.
So this is just for the weights to hold the tubes down then?
The black parts, you see the lines, the black lines, those are actually made to float, but there's I wish I had a picture of it, but I don't, because they're underwater, but there's like a underwater pontoons that hang at the bottom off of probably 20-pound weight. And they sit at the bottom, that's where you get your oxygen, eat the sludge. And most of, we have 3 lines that are down right now. So almost 50% of this pond is not doing its job. So we need someone to get in there, and it won't be this winter. It's too dang cold. And get them in there, get those lines. Some lines came off, some of them are floating up top because of grease and hair and other organic particles that get attached to it.
So I think Jess was getting at this question earlier, Michael, but I'd like to know it just for the commission's benefit. But I think what she was implying there when she said, you know, if this has been happening for a year, why didn't we know? She didn't mean to be accusatory, but I think she was credibly asking that. So I guess my question is, you've given the laundry list of issues that are at the wastewater treatment facility. Are those like generalized equipment failures that have happened because the equipment life has expired? Or was there like a lack of supervision and maintenance, or is it both? I guess, you know, sounds like it's a
That
lot
is
of
what I was
repairs.
asking, and I wasn't trying to be accusatory, I promise. I just, it feels like it's a lot of work, and for it to be down a year, that's,
I mean, I guess it could be maintenance failure and operations failure, the mechanical failure. But I guess it's been brought to people's attention before, and I'm just talking to Stephen Dye. He's asked me to come here and talk about it, so long story short.
So we don't need to do anything.
I don't think
We don't have the code, I mean, just,
but at least we have a heads up that something's coming.
And then,
Just so you guys know, I would much rather have a third party do it. I
100%.
yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's
That
fair
is not
to
okay.
compare the value of one person's life over another's, but I'd be much more inclined to protect you guys than complete strangers.
I'm
I
completely
speak for all
appalled
of us.
that you guys, I'm completely appalled that you guys have done something like that, so that's not okay.
I guess on the next one is the sludge pond, which is I don't even want to say it, but it's the worst thing out there. And, currently have a guy working, rebuilding the shafts for the motors that, not the catfisher, but these parts here, they're pontoons that circulate the water and another pit. And that helps it to get oxygen and break down everything again. So that is being rebuilt this winter in shop, in-house. And eventually, when that's done, I will outsource someone to give me quotes for installing them, because we'll need an excavator and probably a 2-3 man team getting them back in the water. So that shouldn't be too much, I won't think, down the road. So that's all with that one. That one's pretty simple and easy. Should be easy to get done when it's ready.
Thank you. Don't waste any money at all, but it's absolutely worth it for them to maintain and repair stuff that we already own. It's nice to have a heads up that it's coming. Cool, thank you.
I got one more, I
Oh,
guess. I'm asking for more money. This winter, I have these hydrant meters. I think you guys have a picture. Where the dump numbers in it for some reason. FCI was using it for the project at the high school, one of my meters. And the heater went out on their little enclosed structure that they had on this, so it froze. And to replace this one, it's approximately $3,500 to replace this one. And they have agreed to pay for it, because need to go order it and have it here and get billed for it and then bill them back. And I'd like to, when I first started, we had 5. I believe we have 5. Rob believes it too. And my first year here, summer was over, we had 3. So now with this broken one, we're down to 2. I'd like permission to get 2 more and build back FCI for one of them.
So a total of 3.
I think we can make 5 with 4 for now, but depends how many street projects you guys are gonna do. Maybe I need 5. So order 3, 5 on hand, but depends on what kind of street projects are coming down the pipe. I can buy with 3 or 4.
so 4 to 14,000. Then you're gonna build that
No,
for 3,500.
I would only need to order 3.
So we'd be paying for 2.
And then we
You're
pay.
gonna, you know, FCI is gonna pay for the one, then we'd be paying.
Right,
Originally paying for it and then we bill FCI.
Yeah.
Okay.
For 10,500.
approximately, yes.
So we just need a motion to approve the purchase of 3 hydrant meters for the amount of 10,500.
Motion to approve, buying of 3 hydrant meters for 10,500.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second to approve the purchase of 3 hydrant meters. We'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, motion carries.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, new business number 8, it's a proposal for a tree committee.
So we've had some projects here with Idian, primarily the biggest one here was a trail up by the dam area. And that whole dog park area and that. Just a little brief history, 2 years ago, or was it last year? I can't remember. A year ago or 3 years ago, we had a grant from whatever the North Dakota Forestry Division. There are different grants that's available out there. We were qualified for one small grant that we got. And now we can go for more for this next coming year. There's a desire to have trees planted in different locations along the trail, down the north part of where we built the trail. And then also to have maybe some park benches, but for this purpose here, for a tree, to get trees, a lot of us, actually, I met with the forester or from the North Dakota State Forest Department. He was up here last week and went out there with us and went to the trail area and the dam area and looked at the trees that we planted before and was very pleased with what he saw. But anyway, we have an ordinance that has, for a tree ordinance, and to have a committee for trees, which would kind of regulate or not regulate, but get input, do the work to get trees ordered, get the grants, and then what trees to put in and have a diversity and work with the North Dakota State Forester, for the types of trees to put in. So I guess a lot of us from that meeting last week felt that we would be wise to, if we were to kind of activate or get activation and participation from the community, to have volunteers to serve on the tree committee. Probably wouldn't take a whole lot of time, because it's just once a year type of projects with different projects, and you can only do so many trees of what we can handle and what's recommended and suggested for that. I don't know if you have a copy of the ordinance in front of you at all, but it gives the guidelines for the organization of that. So it's one commission member to be on the committee, one park board member to be on the committee, and then 3 at-large people, residents from the community to be on the committee. And, that's really about it. So I guess I would like to kind of see, and I would, or however you want to do it, is to get it so published and try to get some people to submit, and then you would appoint, if we have more than 3 people or 4 people to, that want to participate, then you would appoint, or you appoint them all anyway,
So we need a motion to advertise for tree committee members.
Guys, I will
Okay.
help you. It's just about anything in this world, but I promise you I will not be on the tree committee.
Supposedly, there's something coming up with the trees too. Maybe it doesn't hurt to have this tree committee. There's something going on with the elm trees. Am I correct? Because I think there's some kind of disease that's taking out the elm trees.
I don't know if it's an elm, but there is a disease that's out there. They don't think, he doesn't believe that there's anything here in Toyota in this area yet,
Yeah, okay.
but it is in North Dakota. And I can't remember what it was. You know,
I've heard some of it, and I've also heard that if it does start taking out our trees, we can actually replace them with a grant. So, I mean, I guess it couldn't hurt to have a committee. Anyway, I'll make a motion to approve the advertisement for a tree committee.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. to Approve the advertisement for a tree committee. Move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Hey, that motion carries.
Do you want to be on this, a new board, Kyle?
Absolutely riveting. You should do that.
You get the details there when we get, everything else done. Oh,
All right, we are on to new business number 9, verbal offers of bills.
Well, as I mentioned before, we had 3 really good interviews. And, I've been overlooking like some of the overtime and stuff that we've been, paying out. And, I know we all know that, we are super behind on a lot of things right now. So that is kind of why I'm gearing towards, making 2 verbal offers. I think that we could definitely use, another person in City Hall. 2 more people, I guess, fill the auditor role and maybe 1 more. So I guess, my first one is, looking for approval to make a verbal offer, for the auditor position. Not to exceed 125,000.
The only question I have is, we don't have to say anything with benefits or anything like that with this motion.
no, I think benefits are an automatic package. If you're a full-time employee, you get the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like pretty much full benefits across the board section.
Yeah, you're not requesting approval to send out the written warning, right? Or the written
Verbal offer.
It's verbal to see if, we don't even know if that candidates would even accept it right now.
Yep, so, no, just verbal.
I think I can do that. I'll make a motion to approve the verbal offers, the 2, 1 for the auditor and 1 for the, what are you for in the second position?
Another deputy auditor,
Deputy auditor. Okay.
and I don't know if you wanna do them both, or if you just wanna do one at a time, I guess. Cause I was just going to.
think I would do them
Like,
one at a time, Jaden. That way you can,
I'd like to do one at a
Address.
time,
Okay,
Yep.
because, obviously they'll be
with a different page.
offered different.
Okay. Let me fix that then. I will make a motion to approve a verbal offer for the city auditor position not to exceed 125,000.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to extend a verbal offer. The city auditor position not to exceed 125,000. Is there any discussion on that? That's a big number. If you have any questions or qualms, now would be the time to hash it out. If you're totally comfortable with it though, we can move to a vote.
Well, 120, it's just not to exceed that too. I mean, it can be anything.
Yes.
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 And that motion carries.
Then I will follow up with, I will move to approve a verbal offer to a deputy auditor not to exceed 60,000.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to extend a verbal offer for a deputy auditor not to exceed 60,000. Move to a vote.
Well, do we, just real quick, do you think 60,000's a good number for exceed, or should it be higher, or what do you guys think?
I guess I'm not familiar with that side of the.
The deputy position would be paid probably hourly. Can I crunch math real quick, Jaden, give or take?
Oh,
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I think a good point to be made is we have dollars budgeted for a EDC position, which we no longer are filling, right? So we've got headcount room, we got cap space, if you want to think of it in sports terms.
Doesn't the EDC position come out of the general fund? Am I wrong?
They're both out of the general fund.
They're both, okay.
But the EDC position is docketed under the auditor's office right now. That is correct. On the last budget that I saw, that position was tucked in under the auditor's office. So there is a little bit of play there.
And yes and no, it's still under the general fund, it's under 100, but it's got its own line item, it's 4142, whereas the auditor's fund is 4141, so same, if you think about it in that sense.
And I think that 60,000 that Jaden proposed is probably close on what you're looking for if it's an entry level deputy position, because if you take 60,000 and you divide that, so it's actually a little bit high, by 52 weeks a year, and then you divide that by 40 hours a week, you're coming out at $28.8 an hour.
It's a little high.
I was actually thinking more, probably actually thinking more. So,
25 an hour is
but I guess
52,000.
that would be lower. That would be lower than 60 though. But I guess 60 is, that's not to exceed that. Or if you want to do the math and we can go on.
So we just started at 25 and still needs to be bumped up as we go. We can offer a raise.
25 is 52,000.
Let's go with the math out of 26. It'll be one or the other.
It's 54, 0,
I'll call it 55,000 then.
yeah, just the funsies. Yeah. So if we stay with the not to exceed 60, the goal would be to extend the verbal offer for less that, and if there's some back and forth, like let's just say the deuce is worth the squeeze here. He says, no on 26, but yes on 2650. We would have to come back to get approval to extend that offer for a higher amount.
Can I say something? When our officers start out, they're at 24.14 an hour. And our second year officers, they only make 28. 26 is quite high for an entry level. It's just my opinion. I'm trying to be respectful. I'm not saying that one department deserves less, but I feel like it's a higher startup pay. It's either that or maybe we look at restructuring some of the police department pay, because 24.14 and 28 is.
Well, what's your thoughts on the person that you were looking at extending the verbal to? Would you consider an entry or mid-range?
That's a fair question too, I guess.
Entry.
Or do you want to go with some 25?
I wouldn't go more than 25. Again, my officers start off at 24.14.
So that's 52,000. Oh no.
It's not to say that we can't discuss future. We could completely, we look into this. Hey,
Can I make a suggestion?
okay,
We actually have a wage and salary schedule that we followed for quite a while for the city. That has each department, different entry levels, depending on where you would classify them with like years of experience or something like that.
Right, and like, I don't know what that scale, I haven't seen that scale. I'm just thinking like, for somebody that like, who's been here a while, would be probably. If we called it 25, someone that's been here for a while is probably like $5-6 more than that, probably like $6 more than that, probably roughly. So, I mean, I think 25, 26 is a good place to start. I mean, if we're going off of the experienced ones, there's probably about a $6 difference.
Well, and I think, Jaden, if you're thinking of who I'm thinking of on the panel, there was also a certain level of education there that came pre-stocked. So, those are all qualifications. That's why it was so challenging. There were so many good candidates, but they all had different types of skills and good things about them. So, Ronica, where do we find that pay schedule that you're talking about if we wish to check it? I think the commission needs to be able to extend the verbal offer so we don't lose good candidates, but where is the pay schedule available?
That I do have. I have that in our shared drive. The commission approved it, I believe, May of 22 or 23, within the last couple of years. It was recently redone. But I do have that document.
Do you have access to the shared drive now, or would that be?
I can run and print it fast. I mean, it's actually something I've been working on. So as far as coming up with potential 25 numbers on things, so I can go and print the 24 schedule, like literally right now, if you would like. It'll take a minute.
I don't know if you want to see that, Jaden, but that might be good to have in your pocket. I don't know that it's controlling. The commission can do what they wish, but that would.
And that's fine, that's why I said 60. I mean, it's just not to exceed that. That doesn't mean like, that's where I'm going with it. I just want room for negotiation, I guess.
right,
Because I do want to see that scale and kind of go off of that, but I feel
Yeah.
like this is.
kind of want to see that scale now too.
Do we have a motion in a second? And then we stopped at discussion.
Yes, I have Jessica Sandberg has a motion for approval for a deputy auditor not to exceed $60,000 with a second by Kyle Ralston.
Stay with the motion.
It just doesn't have a call.
This hasn't been voted on.
We're all still good with the original motion. Approve extending a verbal offer not to exceed 60,000. We'll move to a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, that motion carries as well. So,
I don't think we need.
okay, all right, moving on to number 10, Christmas party. This one.
I think Jaden
Yeah,
and
we
I
kind of
both can
did.
kind of about it.
Well, it kind of seemed like the responsibility is on my shoulders, and that's fine. I'm okay with it. I wanted your guys' thoughts on it. So, I mean, I don't even care if there's motion made. I just kind of wanted to feel you guys out. We see what you thought. So, look,
I've never planned a party in my life. I'm more than willing to help you out. Since I'm not on the tree committee, I've got all sorts of time for this.
Oh, you can do the cooking then. Anyway, about every employee that I know of for the city of Pettit has asked about a Christmas party. I think it's really good for the morale. And I think it would be a good opportunity for you to, get to know some of the people that work for the city.
I would love that.
And I appreciate that. And Kyle, because he's new. Also, just a little FYI, a lot of our employees, we like to recognize them, if they've been here a certain amount of years, like 5, 10, 15, 20. I think it's an important time to say, hey, we see you, we value you. It's something we've always done during Christmas. So obviously, we're not gonna make that Christmas date or this month. But if we could try to maybe look into something in January, I think that's still possible. February if we have to, but January, and I think if maybe Jaden and I can, or Brett, whoever, or Kyle, if we just kind of want to put our heads together, brainstorm, I think we can come up with something pretty cool for the employees. So
We normally set a budget, like dollar amount.
that's a good question. Do we?
I believe so.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. I mean, so here's what we typically do. We typically rent out, messes. And the reason we do that is we keep it away from the community center because some people feel like they're working when you do it at the community center. We rotate through, the bars for bartending, and then we typically cater some food in and we rotate through, like side food or something like that. There's been years that we ordered,
Prizes.
some door prizes. Well,
So
do we,
typically last 2024 budget, like there's a special event supplies, which includes lots of different kinds of things. That's at 20,000. Now that includes, I think, a lot of things that have already happened throughout the year. So I guess I don't know what that number is currently at. So I don't know if they just kind of use from whatever's potentially left. But not all of it necessarily, and not all 20,000, because we've obviously used some of that stuff already for special events throughout the year, but. True, yep. Well, unless you guys have anything paid out ahead of time by then, anything that's paid by December 31st, but.
It's otherwise get old.
Mhm.
So we don't need to do a motion.
no, I don't think so, but I do think it's important that the employees know that.
Mhm.
Yep.
We see you guys, we value everything that you do, and we do want to do something. It's been a very busy few months, and so we're gonna be a little late.
We want to set a date for,
I think it's kind of important to maybe see what date Nessets has available, if that's the
I
right.
can check with them and then we'll just try to shoot for like mid to end of January, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and then what we typically have done in the past is we'll just make like an invite and then we send it out to their email addresses and then of course word spreads, so. We'll do that. Doesn't need to be announced, if this isn't like an open to the public. Okay, okay,
all right, moving on to number 11. This is the cost of living increase, so. Former auditor and I talked about this many months ago. Veronica brought up that this is something that needs to go to a board for approval. I can tell you, we discussed a 3% cost of living increase. It's up to you guys if you want to modify that.
so. Hear me out, because I was under the impression that we were doing a 5% cost of living this year. And I believe the employees were kind of under that understanding, so, I'm absolutely open to discussing it, but. Somewhere along the line, there was a 5% cost of living discussed in there.
Office.
So,
Tell you, I got two options. It was either 5 or 8. I chose 3. Just because that's what I've been used to for the last 7 years, either been 3 or 4%. That's the only reason I chose it. It seemed way more area specific and standard. But I was actually 4 and I heard 5 to 8% because you do that for 10 years. It's a hike. Like I said, that was just the number I picked. This is your guys' decision.
Yeah, I'm open to discussion. Do you have any thoughts, Kyle?
I'm leaning more towards 3 myself. Or not to exceed 3. But yeah, 3.
Ooh. We're not to exceed 30. Ooh, that's a little brutal.
Games changed a little bit too, and one of the reasons why I thought 3 was more appropriate is because from this year to last year, no benefits were paid for. Retirement is paid for. That's a bonus all in itself. It's an increase like.
Right, that's decent.
It's a big increase.
I think 3 is probably good too. I guess I'll move to.
I don't like
figure out
how,
how to word this.
I don't like how it feels like it's a bad thing. The 3% cost of living increase is good. That's better than 0. And I'm not saying anybody deserves a 0% cost of living increase. I'm just saying with all the benefits that were added on in June, May or June, plus an increase, that's something we can be proud of. But at the same time, I don't like the way you're looking at this, it feels like a bad thing, like we're taking something away.
I think 3 is fine. I'd still need hang up on it as evidently word got out that it was gonna be 5, so
Yeah.
I guess that's. But. You know, that also probably shouldn't have gotten thrown out there, it was. I don't know, that's kind of why it appears that way with me anyway. I don't want to,
I agree with Brett with the benefits. It's not as if we don't take care of the employees, right? We do with the benefits and the retirement. That's true. Have any idea what it's been the last 2 years? Has it typically been the 3%?
I believe last year was 5%. Previous to that, I think it was, we had a couple years where we had gotten like 2%, I believe. There might have been 2 years of 5%, but, and previous to that, it was nothing. Every 3 years you got a raise and that was it. So there was quite a few years where many employees got nothing. So.
And I think Brett's point is well taken. Cost of living is exactly that. It's to try to offset things like inflationary terms.
Yes.
And so the prior year, the city did a much more substantial increase at 5%, because typically a cost of living increase would not be substantial. That's not the same thing as a pay raise or promotion. It's an offset of inflationary and cost of living expense. And you did contribute pretty handsomely to the benefits. So that helped, I guess, to deflate what would have otherwise been inflation. So actually, if you count the increase in benefit and something like a 3% COLA allowance, you'd be well in it, probably higher than what was 5%, which was the year we went the highest to try to meet with, awful inflation for what it's worth mathematically.
If you guys are comfortable with the 3%, I'm okay with that.
I'm comfortable with it. I just think with everything added up, it's definitely higher than 3, of course. So I think 3 is a very satisfactory number.
All right, so we got a motion.
Sure, I'll make the motion to do a 3% cost of living.
I second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second to approve the 3% cost of living increase. Move to a vote.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Can you please put a date on that, like January 1st?
Oh, sorry.
Effective.
Yes, effective January 1st.
Yeah, I second that, January 1st.
All right, we got a motion and a second to approve the cost of living increase effective January 1st for all city employees. Move to the vote.
Yes.
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 Yeah, motion carries. And
Really quickly, just because I know this was kind of a big deal last time. Liz, correct me if I'm wrong, I am able to vote on this, correct? Since we are voting for everyone as a whole.
Yeah, and I'll
Okay.
be clear about
Just
that for a
So the
conflict. That's a
public
city.
is okay with that.
Yep, and that's because you're not voting for any particular department or any particular relative that you may have. I mean, that's the obvious implication. That's a citywide cost of living allowance. It's not particular to any individual or department.
Thank you. Sorry, I just wanted that clarified and out there. Okay.
thanks. University of cost,
Mhm.
but there's.
It's okay. We can have that conversation every time if we have to.
Okay, number 12, bonuses.
Let Jaden take this one.
Okay, so from my understanding, it's usually been a percentage. Or am I wrong about that?
It's just been a flat rate. Full-time has gotten 500 previously and part-time 350, I think. 300, 350?
Okay, good. I was under the impression those percentages.
No.
I want to do percent.
This is so difficult.
Well, what, do you remember what they were last year? You're thinking
I
500?
believe the full-time was 500 and part-time was 350, I'm pretty sure.
That's accurate. I know full-time was 500 last year. I don't know what part-time was.
Well, I just think the Christmas bonus is important, and I know it's like a huge morale booster, so I think we should take what we had last year and double it.
Wow.
That's a bonus right there.
Double bonus.
I will, I'll second that motion.
All right, we got a motion and a second to double the annual bonus compared to last year, so that would be $1,000 per employee for full-time.
Correct.
$700 for part-time employees.
Correct.
Any discussion on that? All of a sudden, that 3% doesn't seem like that big a deal.
No, it sure does.
Yeah, I mean, I know maybe it's a little high, but I think it's important.
And we've got it, right? Even after all the overtime that we experienced, we'll be fine. Should be fine.
I think so. I think so.
All right, is there any discussion on that? Move to a vote?
Yes.
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 That motion carries. All right, I think we're done with the new business on the agenda, so we'll move to the consent approval. So that includes, planning and zoning, a preliminary plan application for Corey and Kelly DeVore.
Mhm.
A planning and zoning preliminary plan application for Smiley and Mona Barmone. Payroll for December 6th, 2024, and then the pledge holdings for First State Bank and Trust as of 11/14 and 12/4.
Get it, Kyle.
How will you take the glory this time?
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. We'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, that motion carries. 9:10, does anybody have anything that they want to talk about before we adjourn?
With the exclusion of Josh.
No trees.
You in charge of the Christmas tree party?
Christmas tree or not?
You said to do the Christmas party, are you in charge of the tree?
No.
We'll get something good. It'll be fun.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to adjourn. We'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, that motion carries. We are adjourned at 9:10 PM. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay.